भैया जरा कोड दिखाओ.
It just reinforces that the impossible is possible.
Trying to create something which everybody would use.
You can take up crazy projects. You can do, something if you have the right team, the right environment.
Definitely an idea that took its time, but something that was going to change everything. So very innovative, I would say.
I think UPI has been the journey of building together.
As I look past the last 15 years, the entire story, the entire journey is a story of dreaming, a story of self-reliance, a story of can we build something which has not been built before. It starts in 2005. Very few people have mobile phones. You can make a call, you can send an SMS. But one of the more exciting things you can actually do is press a button on your phone to use it as a torch. At that point of time, the experience with banking was long queues, elaborate forms, something that had to be planned for, something that could not be done instantly. And at that time, a few minds across India began dreaming about how these two different worlds could be brought together.
Now, cash is a part of our, you can say, DNA. And getting people out of the cash DNA to this kind of a digital transaction is a huge kind of a challenge.
Big issue in those days was there was no Aadhaar. All these things were introduced after. And the only way that RBI actually allowed you to transfer money from one person to the other was from one bank account to another bank account.
We were studying a lot of numbers, and what we saw was that only 40% of the Indian population had bank accounts at that point of time. So that time, I thought that it was actually quite next to impossible.
What used to cost in 2005, 70 rupees if you walked into a bank, 12 rupees if you do a transaction on ATM, and about a couple of rupees when you did it with credit card. I said, well, then that's the future of the banking, the digital banking.
See, and audacious to think that everyone would have a phone, and even a common person would have a phone and want to make a payment, and the street vendor would be willing to accept that.
It was an impossible dream. The belief was that India mein to aise ho hi nahi sakta. India was not seen as a leader in technological innovation. But despite that, we wanted to build a world-class payment system that was mobile-based, bank-linked, and which could scale to 1 billion plus Indians. I mean, that was just sheer audacity.
Some of the other government bureaucrats say, let us look at what rest of the world is doing. I think one important thing that we said, well, no. Yes, of course, anything that was well known, we saw it, read it, but we didn't go around digging. We said, we will be the first to do it.
The Reserve Bank of India set out a very ambitious vision for democratizing payments in the country. Let me put it simply. Think of trying to pay an auto wala in the middle of a busy road. The place is crowded, horns are blaring, a bus is coming in close to you, and you want to pay for that ride. What you have is cash, but we were imagining a world where you can make that transaction just within a few seconds using your mobile phone. But even for the smallest transaction to happen, many institutions had to come together. We already had the Reserve Bank, which had given us this futuristic policy, the foundation on which we would build this system. To help design it, there had to be research support from professors and students at IIT Madras.
What I did is that then I went to the banks and said, roped them in. And I went to the telecom service providers and roped them in. And we created Mobile Payment Forum of India.
So that time we thought that besides the executive committee, we need to have regulatory committee, we need to have business committee, we need to have also the technology committee.
Once the right people came together, we had to set the rules of the game. On one hand, the technology standards had to enable anyone to be able to build and innovate on this platform. On the other hand, these rules had to protect the spirit of public good. No matter how big the players are, they would have to play by our rules.
The formulation that whole thing must work with any phone, any bank, any mobile service provider on either side really probably was the biggest formulation. Then at some point of time, RBI took a step and said, we'll form NPCI.
When NPCI was created, RBI had given a mandate to develop new payment products, real-time money transfer using the mobile channel from any person to any person, irrespective of bank affiliation.
So they wanted to provide something that was very low cost and that could handle huge volumes. So I think that was a huge motivation for setting up NPCI actually.
The first stepping stone towards UPI was IMPS, the immediate payment service.
India was the first country in the world with IMPS, the real-time retail money transfer, real-time. The beneficiary account credit system was initiated.
IMPS worked. All we had to do now was put it in people's hands. Mobile phones were getting very common, but mobile internet was not as widely available. So we had to design a protocol over a communication channel which did not need the internet to work. We were all so excited by it.
I tried checking my balance, we sent money and all of that stuff. So it actually worked, the USSD thing.
We all thought this would completely revolutionize payments in the country. Not quite. Despite our high expectations, it just did not take off. It was a setback, but we persisted with the dream. We also had experts like Nandan and Pramod to help us. It was at that time that the internet started taking off. Smartphones started coming in, and we sensed a new opportunity, an opportunity to get mobile payments into everyone's hands. The dream had been built. UPI was born. It really took off in 2017 with virtual payment addresses, QR codes, and mobile apps. By 2023, 75% of all digital transactions in India were done using UPI.
I strongly believe that the UPI success is dependent on IMPS success and the learnings from IMPS. I think these were the two basic building blocks of when we started designing UPI.
In the early days, when people confronted us and said, this is not possible, is it that they thought that we could not do it, or actually not want us to succeed? When someone tells you that something can't be done, that's a great opportunity to find ways to make it happen.
And today, in 2023, when we see common man, Bajiwala, etc., are very comfortable using mobile payments. So I will say that last 10 years of that kind of an effort to make people change their mind really has worked.
वो तो फायदा ये है कि अपना सेफ्टी पैसा रहता है, कैश रहे तो दर चला जाता है.
5 ரூபான்னா கூட கூகுள் பே தான் பண்ணுறாங்க. கொஞ்சம் யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக தான் இருக்கும். எப்பயாச்சும் காசு இல்லாத போது நான் அக்கௌண்ட்டில் பார்த்தேன்னா காசு இருக்கும், அந்த காசை எடுத்து வாடகை கட்டுவேன்.
ಅಂದರೆ ಇವರು 1000 ರೂಪೀಸ್ 500 ರೂಪೀಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ಕೊಡಲಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಚೇಂಜು? ಈ ಯು ಪಿ ಐ ಕೋಡ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಬೇಗ ಅಂದರೆ ವಿತಿನ್ 2 ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ. ಸೊ ಅವರು ಬೇಗ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ.
ஸ்கேனிங் இருக்கான்னு கேட்டுட்டு தான் காய் எடுக்கணும்.
The biggest thing what UPI offers as any other digital technology is the democratization. So the UPI does not differentiate between both of us, the guy on the road, the merchant, the UPI has democratized this technology, the payment system, which was not available to the masses before. I think that is what I think UPI means to them.
So that's how it has made the big success, and all the various countries across the world are also now trying to see how this can be implemented.
Don't think UPI only as a payment system. Use UPI as a tool for innovation.
You will see many more technologies coming like this. India is for the first time getting confident. India is driving digital. If you go to Silicon Valley, a very large percent of IIT graduates are now CXOs of the top companies. That happened even 10 years back. Now you will see things happening in India.
To me, UPI is about being self-reliant and the confidence that you can do anything and everything here without having to rely on the West.
UPI is just magic. The ability to pay anyone, anywhere, anytime. A solution that is in the hands of the common person. A solution that can scale to 1 billion plus people simply looks and feels magical. जो सपना हम सब ने देखा था, आज वो हमारे हाथ है.